All right, good people. Listen, I wanted to chime in just a little bit on this meeting that the urban pastors had with President Donald Trump the other day, and some of the controversy surrounding it. Number one, I think that everybody needs to respect other individuals' personal freedoms. People can meet with whoever they want to. Number one, and some people just feel like that preachers can't do certain things or shouldn't do certain things, but if there's trouble, preachers need to be involved. We're otherwise involved anyway. Crime and violence in the streets. I don't know who you think's doing the funerals. It's not these city officials or public officials as pastors, and who's putting families together as pastors, ministers, leaders, and all of that. So it's appropriate for ministers and preachers to meet with leaders, whether they're good or evil. And if you want to try to bring out a list of evil and good leaders, thinking that we should only meet with the good ones, then I don't think we should ever have any meetings, because there's a lot of leaders, secular leaders, that are horrible, that have been horrible, and recent history included. So there's a lot of things that could be said, but nevertheless, we should not forget that. On the other hand, there's been videos made in response to this particular meeting. Now, I want you to know, it seems to me that meeting was, or at least what was televised, or spread around on the internet, was just the aftermath of the real meeting. It was either the aftermath or beforehand. I don't know exactly what the sequence was, but it was not the substantive meeting that was filled with a lot of pastoral praise, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the actual physical meeting where substantive issues were addressed seems to be either after or before that particular TV event. Now, that's not uncommon. That's pretty much a normal thing. Jamal Bryant presented a piece to where he went verbatim on words and stuff that had been said in that TV briefing, as if that was the entire meeting, but that wasn't the entire meeting. Harry Jackson came back, put out another video, and he talked about many of the things that they talked about all together, and he talked about much more than was said around that table. So it seems to me that everybody's getting mad at the praise that was lauded upon Donald Trump after that meeting, or either before the meeting, which I understand. I don't think it's the place of the pastor to go into a situation and begin to load praise upon the political leader, but I don't think it's comely for any pastor or pastoral leader or Christian to go in there and just lambast or bombard anybody either. So I think looking at it, some of the things that people expected or wanted or are saying that should have been said at the TV portion of this meeting are ridiculous. It's called grandstanding. You go in there, you may have a difference with the man himself. Of course, you and I do. But we may have all kinds of differences, but you don't have to grandstand. Go in there and say what you're going to say, thank him for the meeting, and keep on pushing on. To say whether this gentleman is the best, the most proactive president for black people in history, I don't know. I guess that'll be told and seen. I know one thing he did that President Obama didn't do in 8 years was, when he got in, the very first thing he did was sign an executive order to fund HBCUs to a more adequate level, historically black colleges and universities. President Obama sat there 8 years and he didn't sign that executive order. He didn't fund black colleges more. Now, that's just one instance. I'm not even going into the politics of it. Some of you probably hate me and picking on me just for even mentioning that. But, that's just the truth. Deal with the truth. I mean, my goodness. I don't hate Obama because of it. You shouldn't hate Trump because of it either. Now, there's other things to deal with. Certainly, there's a lot. Criminal justice reform does not begin with just what happens so far as recidivism. It happens in the sentencing phase too. I'm interested in seeing some some resolve and some issues addressed so far is sentencing, fair sentencing, appropriate sentencing, and also equal sentencing. So I'm looking at those type of things personally myself. But beyond all of that, our streets are on fire. Chicago, all the murders and whatnot, people injured. It's like a war zone, you know, in certain places in Chicago. Sad. I would have loved to see that meeting that was done in Washington, D.C. I would have loved to see that meeting right there in Chicago, in the hood, in a high crime neighborhood, an area where everybody checks in and everybody's sitting there thinking about how to solve crime, violence, and all kinds of issues right there where the crime and violence is. It's easy to sit in nice